All right, hi class. That's our first video for while I'm in India, and today we're going to be talking about the buffer tool, which you've already used a little bit, but we're going to do it a little bit more deeply, getting you ready for using it in your final project. So before we get started, let's look at a couple of fun, crazy maps. Frankenplace, enter a search term. Let's see, Colorado River. What it gives us is a map of articles that have been written about your search topic and where. So not surprisingly, there are a whole bunch of articles written about the Colorado River in the southwestern U.S. and the Colorado River Basin. So kind of fun. Let's see, what else could we do? Let's do the Ganges River, since I'm headed to India. Wow, and of course there are lots in... Oh, and if you click on the basin, then it gives you a list of topics, and then you can hover over it and find out more information about that article. So, not really for academic research, but kind of fun. Let's see what else we have. These two are related to what we're doing today. So today we're going to talk about the buffer tool. Here is a cool little ArcGIS Online geoprocessing tool that allows you to create a buffer. So let's, for example, zoom in on Grand Junction. And let's say we wanted to find out what is within, let's say 1 mile radius. We'll do a line on North Avenue. And that gives us everything that's within a 1 mile radius of North Avenue. Or if you want to do a polyline, you could click, and so a polyline has multiple segments. We could go along I-70. It's not liking some of my clicks. There we go. So within a 1 mile radius of that line, you can do a freehand polyline. Let's clear those, and we can do a polygon. So let's say we wanted a 1 mile radius of this down, click, there we go, downtown area. So within a 1 mile radius of downtown Main Street. So pretty cool, handy little tool for doing some buffers. And one more tool that uses a buffer tool, again uses geoprocessing and is in ArcGIS Online. And this one, what you do is you pick a point and it gives you, here we go, click the map. Come on, there it is. It zooms in and it gives you a 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minute drive time from the site that you're at. So let's get back to Grand Junction. Here we are. So, say we wanted to find a place to live that's within a 1 minute drive time of CMU's campus, 2 minute or 3 minute. So you have a pretty wide area to choose from if you want to be 1 to 3 minutes away from campus. So all of these, or not all of these, but the last two that we looked at are using the buffer tool, which is what we're going to look at today. So the buffer tool, which we've already used once to create little buffers around points, it's another geoprocessing tool. So you have an input feature, and your input feature can be points, it can be line features, or it can be polygons. And you have two output types. You can have no dissolve, so that you end up with separate features associated with each of your input features. So you get a separate output feature with each of your input features, whether they're points, lines, or polygons. Or if you dissolve, then it merges the features that overlap. It merges the output features that overlap, and depending on your purpose, you may want dissolve or you may not want to dissolve. So, okay, so open up Windows Explorer and go to your K folder for this class, to the share folder, to the data folder, and there's a week 12 folder. Copy the entire week 12 folder to your practice folder. There we go. So we've got week 12 in practice, and we have this map called Mesa County. So go ahead and open the Mesa County map that's in your week 12 practice folder. Okay, so let's look at what we have. We have the outline of Mesa County. We have a point feature class called airports. We have a line feature class called canals. And we have a polygon feature class called lakes and rivers, which includes surface water and the major rivers. So we're just going to do a quick practice on buffering around points, and then buffering around lines, and then buffering around polygons. So one way that we can open the buffer tool is to go to geoprocessing. All right, so let's do our buffer tool around the airport, our point feature. So we do input airports, and then we're going to navigate to our practice week 12 folder, and we'll call our output feature airports buffer. And let's say, well, let's do 5 miles from the airport. And let's say we're looking for a place to live where we aren't going to have planes flying low over us. We don't want to be near the airport on any of the approaches. So our input is airports, our output is airports buffer. It's going to be a shapefile. Our distance is 5 miles. We're not dissolving the polygon, so there'll be a polygon for each airport. And we click OK. And there we go. We have our buffer. And notice we now have a polygon feature that's called airports buffer. We could change the color maybe. I probably would want to make that a little more faded. And then probably make it transparent. So remember, to make it transparent, you go to the display tab in the layer properties, and we can set some transparency to it, so it'll kind of make it fade a little bit. Alrighty, so that's buffer tool for points. Let's do our buffer tool for lines. Alright, so we know everybody likes to go running along the canals in the Grand Valley. Right click on canals and zoom to layer. So we'll just zoom into the Grand Valley where all the irrigation canals are. What properties are within a half mile of the canal? So we'll go to, let's look at a different way to get to the, okay. So if we want to find the buffer tool a different way, we can open our toolbox, but since we don't know for sure which toolbox it's in, or, well, we do know, but we'll pretend that we don't know, let's use the search tool. So I'm going to go ahead and close my ARC catalog so I have a little more room. This button right here is the search tool. You can also do Control F, and we can type in buffer. And we get the buffer analysis tool, and there we go. So actually, let's look at where it is in the ARC toolbox. It's under Analysis Tools, under Proximity. So Analysis Tools, Proximity, Buffer. Alright, so this time let's do the canals feature class, and we'll redirect it now. We'll do canals buffer. So we're going to create now a polygon shapefile that buffers around the canals, and let's do 0.5 miles around the canals. And let's go ahead and try what the dissolve all does and see what we get. And close these. All right, so now notice we have, let's look at our attribute table. We actually have one giant polygon that is giving us a half-mile buffer around all of the canals, all of the irrigation canals in the Grand Valley. We could, of course, turn on a base map behind it so we could get a little better idea of where they are in the Grand Valley. And let's make that polygon maybe 50% transparent. There we go. So we can zoom in a little bit on the city and get an idea of where, if you wanted to be within a half mile of running along one of the canal roads, which, shh, don't tell anyone, this is where you'd want to be within this green polygon. All right, so now let's look at a polygon, or doing some buffering around another polygon. So this time we're going to use lakes and rivers. I just did zoom to layer on lakes and rivers, and I turned off my base map so things will go a little faster. I'm going to turn off my canals buffer so that's not quite so busy. And let's say we're interested in looking at some water quality related buffering around lakes and rivers. So we're going to use our geoprocessing tool, buffer. Our input features this time will be lakes and rivers. We're going to redirect this to our K drive, and we'll call it lakes and rivers buffer. And let's change our units to meters and do 100-meter buffer around all of the lakes and rivers. And let's do the dissolve type of all, but let's see how that works. So, all right, click OK, and it's buffering. So down this time you can actually see there it goes, and now it just added our lakes and river buffer. And since I only did 100 meters, it's actually a pretty small polygon. But let's move the lakes and rivers on top of the buffer, and let's zoom in. First, let's zoom in down right around downtown Grand Junction, and we could make this, let's make it beige so it's a little better contrast. There we go. All right, so now we have, oh, let me turn that off, the lakes and rivers, so we can see what we've got. So there's our buffer polygon, and there's the input polygon that we use to buffer from. I'm going to back up a little bit and then zoom in on all the little lakes up on the Grand Mesa. So there's our 100-meter buffer around. We can turn the map back on in the background. And we're up on top of the Grand Mesa. There's Highway 65 and all of the little ponds and our buffers that we've created around them. Let me turn the lakes off so you can see there the buffer polygons. Notice it dissolved the ones that are close together. If they're not touching, they're separate features. Okay, let's open the attribute table and see how this dissolved worked. Oh my goodness, it's only one polygon. So does that mean if we select one, we select all? Yes! So that's something to think about when you use that dissolve tool. So let's do that again. The lakes and rivers, oops, not lakes and rivers buffer, lakes and, okay, really, I want lakes and rivers and buffer, lakes and rivers, and we'll call this buffer not dissolved. Save, and dissolve type we have none now, so we're gonna, oops, I forgot to put a distance field, 100 meters, okay. And it's buffering, boom, here we go. So same, let's turn those off. It's the same polygons, let me clear that selection, same polygons as when we did the dissolve, but if we open the attribute table now, you can see we have a separate feature for each polygon. And notice that it also includes the name of the feature that it's buffered around, which is pretty handy. So again, like I said before, whether you use the dissolve or don't use the dissolve is going to depend on the use of your map and what your final purpose is going to be. This is pretty handy because you actually get a polygon that's associated with the input feature that it is buffering around, and it gives you your buffer distance here as well. So those are some of the tips and tricks for the buffer tool. Go ahead and let me know if you have questions about this. Just post it in the question discussion folder. And it's good to get some practice doing this because you will need to use the buffer tool in your final project. So, alrighty, good luck on project 2, and I'll talk to you soon.